Hello, Mr. Target. How are you?
I'm very good. Thanks. How you getting on, Ben?
Yeah, good, mate. All the better for seeing your smiley face, my friend. Um, so, Chris, today, well, whenever we catch up, it feels like we do a lot of talking around content and around social media because that is a passion of both of ours, and it's where certainly you, but I guess I also make my money and grow my business. So, I'm looking forward to today's chat because we're going to be speaking somewhat generically, I guess, about the things that people need to know and things that people
Mhm.
need to consider in order to be proficient on social media and build a brand and grow their channels appropriately. So we're not going to speak specifically, I guess, in granular detail about any
Mhm.
one particular platform, but definitely get a few hints and tips and do's and don'ts that might be applicable for a few across the board. So,
Yeah.
Chris, this sounds like a very basic question and maybe something that not a lot of people are wondering at the moment because I think that we all kind of accept that social media is a powerful tool in our arsenal, but just how powerful is social media and how essential do you consider it be that everyone's got some kind of a presence? Seems like a sensible place to start.
I think it boils down to how much time do we spend doing one thing every day. So we might sleep for 8 hours a day. We might in total maybe eat for 2 hours a day. We work. What's the one thing that we do every day on average that is about 3 hours, and that's scroll on social media. And regardless if it's January, New Year, New Me, and we're not spending as much time on social media, by December, we will be spending about 3 hours of our time on social. So that is where the most attention is at the moment. 50, 60 years ago, it might have been reading newspapers. You know what I mean? 20 years ago, it might have been looking on blogs, but now social media is where most people spend their life. Therefore, as a business, we need to be on social media to even have visibility, let alone converting into business.
No, absolutely. And I think I don't know who said it, but it said whatever products or service it is that you're selling or you're monetizing, really that's not what you're doing. What you're trying to do is be in the business of retaining people's attention. And if you can do that and win people's heads and hearts, then almost the products and the service follows, right?
Exactly, yeah, and that's what social media is all about. It's grabbing people's attention, whether it's grabbing attention because it's a funny cat video, or it's grabbing people's attention because it's breaking news about something terrible that's happened in the world. It's all about grabbing people's, put my teeth back in, attention.
Absolutely. And I know that you've come very prepared for this, and we've got a couple of notes that we're going to go through
Mhm.
about things that people need to be keeping at the forefront of their mind. So, not to put too much pressure on you, but if I can put the spotlight on you for a second, Chris, what are the immediate sort of points that you'd be making when it comes to people trying to sort of get started with this and make some real headway in finding traction?
So going to talk through a few things on social media, but I'm not trying to throw the spotlight back. But obviously, Ben, if anybody follows Ben on social media, Ben has got very successful social media channels, and he's done a lot of great things over the years to be able to do that. And it's funny, Ben and I got to know each other through LinkedIn. So it just shows the power of social media that you can get to know somebody and follow their socials and buy into them as a business and a personal brand. So as I'm saying this, I'm going to try and throw some back over to you. And if you can talk about like real life examples as well of what you've done to grow your business. So the first thing is don't try and master every social media platform because you might think I've got to get on Facebook, got to get on Instagram. I've heard LinkedIn's good, TikTok's the place it is at the moment. Then I've got to be on Google My Business. Oh, I've thought about Pinterest. Do I do blogs? What I would recommend is pick one social media platform and let's try and get as not a master at it, but proficient is it in it as possible before you move on to the next one. Okay. So I would always recommend Facebook for an estate agent, okay, or any service-led business really, because Instagram is fantastic for a product-based business. Take photos of some nice trainers, new hair products, whatever it might be. You can't physically take a photo of an item as an estate agent unless you're doing houses, and we'll get onto that shortly. But Facebook is a great platform. You've either got a personal profile, so that would be me, Chris Target, or I could set up a business profile, business page called Chris Target Estate Agents. Make sure you have a business page because if you try and run your business from your personal one, Facebook can shut it down. Okay, so that would be my first point. With Facebook, then you have the ability to get into Facebook groups. And what Facebook groups are, they're free communities of people. and they are made up of, for example, where I live, Ashby, it could be Spotted Ashby, and that could be a group. Okay. So in that group, people are asking for local gardeners. They're asking who the best butcher is. They're asking these type of questions. They're asking who let their dog have a poo on the corner of Smith Street. It's if you're on Facebook, you'll know those kind of type of groups. Those are great for you to advertise your services in because you're advertising to local people. Okay. It's a great way to get your name out there. And what Facebook also has at the minute, which is huge for organic reach. When I talk about organic reach, it's not, you're not paying Facebook to push your posts out. Organic reach is you upload the post and Facebook go and put it out for you. So at the moment, Facebook Reels, which is like Instagram Reels, so they're like 60-second-ish videos that you can upload on Facebook Reels, and it pushes it out to more and more people than you could ever imagine. The reason they do that is because they want Facebook Reels to be as big as Instagram Reels. So they're giving people organic reach for free. So that's what I would be doing. Exactly. That's what I'd be doing on Facebook, and being personal as well. And this is where I'm going to throw it back to Ben, because you have built your business in the local area when you fully went in a estate agency purely on the Ben Moore name, didn't you? And how did you do that?
By much of what you've just said, really. Local groups were absolutely enormous for me, mate. Like whether that be, some hints and tips on things that you should do before you sell your house, 2 things you need to know to improve value, the 1 thing you should be asking an estate agent, just general content, some of which was evergreen that might be useful for people who are thinking of buying or selling a property. Outside of that, I'd mix it up and I'd actually promote quite aggressively the properties we were selling. And I'd share that into the local groups where I wasn't breaking the group rules in being able to kind of share that content. And I just kind of found really that regardless of interaction or messages or success from each one individual post, that gradually just had that compounding effect that we often talk about, where I was consistently there, showing my face as an estate agent, being helpful, showcasing a property, whatever it might be, a varied mix of content, but it allowed the dots to go out for people to connect to themselves. So actually, this is a guy that I like and I want to do business with. Or maybe in some cases, this is a guy that I don't like and I don't want to do business with. That's cool either way, because the people who do come from those groups, you hack that audience and they come over to your page and start following along. You've kind of lifted an audience from a different place, put it on your page, and you've now got those eyeballs for life, really. Until they, well, hopefully they don't, but unless they unfollow. So that's good because you can put one post up on in the January, and that person might see a post from you every day, every week, every month until December when they're ready to make a decision on what it is that your business offers, and then you might get the conversion down the line. So I just found it a really good tool to leverage the information I was putting out to build an audience to then later monetize, which was obviously huge, just not overnight.
And so that was going to be my next point. We're talking about posting into Facebook groups. If you put a post in Facebook groups, you can't expect all these leads to start flooding in for Vals. What you've got to do, you've got to do it for 6 to 12 months to see any kind of results whatsoever.
Yeah.
That leads me on to, sorry.
So I was just going to say, mate, very quick on this, that kind of that got my expectations managed and put in check quite quickly, because I think I naively thought, like a lot of people do, and I feel silly saying this now with 3 years of hindsight, but I thought I'll announce myself, I'll put some good posts out, I'll get on camera, I'm not going to be shy to speak, and I'll be consistent. And I kind of thought in my own head, like after a month or so I start getting some real traction. It took a hell of a lot longer than that, and a hell of a lot more patience than what I thought I had. But that kind of, I know this is dead cliche and it's said a lot, but I just kind of fell in love with posting. I just set myself a target of doing 1 post a day. And then I just kind of felt that was a win. Like, regardless of what came of it, I've posted, I've done something. That's a tick in the box that I've achieved that. And I just go on with my day. And that started to compound over like an 8-9 month period, to the point where it did start having a positive impact on my bottom line.
So that was going to be my question. How long did it take you? So it took you posting once a day for 9 months before you started seeing any results.
Yeah, so sometimes more than that, but as a minimum, once a day. Obviously, if I had a lot going on, I might, some of my videos that were the most popular were after the school run, walking to the coffee shop. I'd do a quick video oh, did a viewing last night, and the first time buyer was looking around this property, and they had a question about mortgages. So I just thought I'd share that. What you need to know is A, B, and C. I thought if one person cared enough to ask, there might be more people out there wondering the same thing.
Mhm.
And just little bite-sized bits of
Things like that.
content like that went down really well. If I was at a viewing, I might do a behind the scenes. I might do a walk and talk. I might feature a local business. I might, it could be anything, but posting at least once a day was what I found
That's
was a
key.
decent pace. Yeah,
Okay.
sustainable, but enough to have an impact.
Then what I want to get onto, and I think what I'm going to do is talk through what I recommend best practice and then relate it to you because you've been through this, you've done it, and it's good for. I'll talk about the strategy behind it, but you've actually been there and done it. So, Pete, do you know what I mean? You can talk through how it helped you. But the next thing to do is you're putting all these posts there, they're putting them into Facebook groups, you post into your Facebook page, you post into Instagram, whatever it may be. What you've got to do is to make sure that you engage with your audience. Okay, so you might put a post out about what is going to happen to property in 2023. And you might say, look, the market's still been strong since the beginning of January. We expect it to cool down, whatever it may be. Somebody might then put a question on saying, thanks, Ben, this was really insightful. When do you think the best time to sell is? Okay. If you ignore that comment as an estate agent, one, I just think it looks rude. But two, what happened? That person might have never posted a comment on Facebook before in their life because they were so anxious to do so. That might have been the first time that they ever posted on social media on somebody else's content. So for you just to then blanket it, they will never engage with another piece of your content. Okay. So the first thing is make sure you respond to it. Always make sure that it's informative. But a top tip is try and respond to that person's question with another question. Okay. So for example, that one, they asked what are going to happen to the market. I think this and this will happen. Thanks for commenting. Have you ever moved home before or something? And what that does is two things. It builds a relationship between you and the person that's commented. Okay. But the second thing, it will increase the amount of comments on your post. So if you're scrolling through your feed and you see a post that has one comment on it, okay, you might scroll past it. If you see it says 4 comments because that person's asked a question, you've asked a question back, he's asked one back, and you've had 4 different interactions, a person scrolling past that, because we're nosy as human beings, and I would do it, I would click on the comments to see if it's kicking off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would want to know why. Why is there 4 comments on this post? And that will count as an interaction on one of your posts because somebody's clicking into your post to see what's going on. Facebook look at that favorably because they say, well, it's got 4 comments on it and other people are clicking into it, so it must be a good post. So when Ben puts his next post out, we're going to push it out to more organic audience, which gets your business name out there even more.
Yeah.
So my top tip would always be try and respond with a question. You know, when you have questions on your questions on your comments, how do you respond to them? Do you always make sure you do? Or do you let any slip?
I do let some slip, mate, and I'd put my hands up and I'd be guilty of that. The reason being is that it's so stupid, but I don't take compliments very well. Like,
Okay.
like I find it a bit awkward when people are nice to me. I don't know what it is. So sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, that was a really nice comment." Like I'm going to have to leave a nice comment back, and I'll be like, "What should I say?" And then you get this, you doing other bits and pieces, and I might just genuinely forget to go back to it or whatever it might be. But you absolutely have to. And when I catch myself, I'm trying to get better at managing it by responding straight away when I see it. Because sometimes I'll be like, oh, cool, I'll reply to that. Because it's not necessarily something that has to be done there and then. You can get back and reply whenever you like. But then as you start getting distracted, more calls come in, you're putting fires out, you're dealing with other people, you're prioritizing a workload, you've still got a checklist of things that you need to get through. It can quickly fall to the bottom of the list before you know it, 2 days have passed and you've not responded. So I'm just trying to get better at managing that response time because once it's done and replied to, it's done and replied to.
Well, a top tip then, I would say, because I fell ill to that as well, because I had an Instagram and a Facebook page and bouncing between the apps. What I would do every morning is I go onto Meta Business Suite. So it's a free tool and it merges your Facebook and Instagram comments and messages. Right. And what I do is go into Meta Business Suite. Even if I've read the comment on my phone, it will still be on there. and I click on them. And then if I've got any new ones, I'll click on them and respond to them in the morning instead of doing it in real time, because one, I might jump from thing to thing, but two, I can actually think what I'm going to respond instead of just going, cheers, mate. It might be, thanks very much. Would you find more of this content useful? Question.
Yeah.
Get a response, and they turn around and go, actually, Chris, this is the first one I've seen, one of your Canva hacks. I did really like the stuff you talked about Facebook groups, though. Can we have more of that? Boom, straight away, I know what to create next time.
Yeah, no, mate, it's a great tip, and it's so important. But so, as important as it is, it's something that is easily overlooked. So I think it's a good point worth highlighting.
Definitely. And then my final tip on social media, and I'm talking about Facebook again here, is utilizing the invite button. So on Facebook, what you can do is if you go to a business page, on the top right-hand side, there'll be like 3 dots and ellipsis. If you press that, you can put invite friends. Okay. Now, what a lot of people don't know is you can get your friends to invite their friends to your page. And the majority of the time, they're going to be local, especially from an estate agency side. So make sure you invite all of your friends and get your friends or your closest family to invite all of their friends to your page.
Yeah.
It's a quick way and a legal way that Facebook, a legal way that Facebook allow you to grow your following. Okay. Utilize it, because it might not be around forever. People say to me, yeah, but people get annoyed with people sending page invites. People get annoyed if they don't want to sell their house. Yeah. But if I'm thinking about selling my house this weekend and I get a notification on Facebook to say, John Smith has asked you to like Chris Target estate agents. I'm actually thinking of selling. Let's have a look at them. You only need that one person.
And this probably comes back to what we were saying in another chat that we had about, your top of funnel and your content marketing strategy. Because if it is that your content, for the most part, when someone lands in it, is bottom of funnel, in that it's very much relevant to people that are looking to sell their house right now, which ultimately is where agents think they need to catch people to get the conversion, because salespeople stereotypically are short-term thinkers, then you're not really going to be compelling to someone who's 12, 18 months, 2 years, 5 years out of looking at a move. But if your content has got aspirational properties, a bit of house porn, quirky ideas for conversions under the stairs to make a dog bed, or interviews with local business owners, some of which they might recognize from the local supermarket or the local high street, then you've kind of broadened the appeal of your content. So they might join because they're like, oh, he had really good banter with the butcher, but then they might stay for a year or two and gradually learn about who you are and what you do and the value that you can add specific to the purchase or the sale of a property. So you can get people over time. So I guess that just comes down to how robust your top of funnel content is, and that'll correlate to how many people you eventually draw down the funnel.
And the best part of Facebook and Instagram is, well, Instagram, it's easy to do this, but with Facebook, it makes it very awkward. They make it very awkward for you to unfollow a page. So if you think you go and follow a Facebook page today, you might be scrolling in 6 months' time and go, I need to unfollow that page. But as humans, we cannot be bothered to click on that little icon, click on the buttons, press unfollow, because we're lazy. I do it. I'm following Facebook page. I follow for years and never unfollowed. Once you've got that follow, I'd probably say there's a 70% chance they'll still be following your page in 12 months' time. And that's when they're ready to sell. And I liked your analogy with a dartboard before. You throw that dart, that's one piece of content that hits with them, that goes, I am looking for properties in X area. And they go, we're in X area and we want to sell. And they're going to choose you. They wouldn't have chose you because they hadn't liked your Facebook page in an alternate universe. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So those are my 3 massive tips to grow your following. And another thing, I'm going to briefly talk on Instagram, because I wanted this to be around kind of Facebook and how to grow your audience. Instagram, you need to be showing your behind the scenes content on your Instagram stories. You can use Facebook stories, but not many people watch them. Instagram stories is where it's at for answering the little nitpick questions, uploading photos of your cup of tea, uploading a sneak peek. Use Instagram stories like a little mini reel of your life. That's how you want to use Instagram stories. The grid, so where you upload posts, that needs to be photos of your property, your sales pitches, your call to actions for people. That's what you want your grid to be. Instagram stories show them who you are and what you do in your downtime.
Definitely, mate. That's exactly as I've always looked at it. Sort of like Instagram stories is like a good behind the scenes, like a more informal, less polished, doesn't need to be pretty, can be a bit rough, raw, and ready, but ultimately authentic, I think is the best
Yeah, very good
way
word.
to view your Instagram stories. And it could be anything. I think that there can be a tendency sometimes to overthink content. Is this going to resonate? Is this going to be valuable? Is this worth saying? Is this worth posting? And sometimes we can almost talk ourselves out of taking action. But I think with behind the scenes stuff, the beauty of it is that you can rest easy at night knowing that probably the more rough and ready it is, the better. So if you've got a
Yeah.
shaky hand and you're walking
So
around, or
for example, give us 3 examples of things you've uploaded to Instagram stories yesterday or this week.
so with Instagram stories, I'm like in a typical day, I'll always try and get some kind of a poll in because I'm trying to encourage interaction. Because again, looking at the dark arts of the algorithm and the bits that we don't necessarily see on a surface level, Instagram want to see users interacting with a page. So that might be something as simple as if I've got a beautiful house that I've just taken on and it's got a fancy kitchen or it's got a nice garden or whatever else, I could put a picture of that up. And there's even something as simple as like a little love heart emoji that you can put on and it acts like a button. So if someone looks at that and thinks, oh, that kitchen's gorgeous, they can just tap that heart button. It'll open a load of heart emojis or whatever else, and Instagram will see that that person's clicked on that story. So it shows, although it's only a very basic interaction, it shows a connection between the viewer and that piece of content. Therefore, Instagram will think, oh, okay, well, we're going to prioritize Ben's stories to this particular user or promote it a bit more than what we otherwise would have. So I think interaction's good, and polls kind of link into that as well. You're very good at this, Chris. Like it might just be something as simple as, you know, I've made my tea milky. The missus has got hers dark, which is the perfect shade of tea, and they'll put left or right. And it, just little things like that kind of show that interaction, but it can also be good for you to gain feedback. It can also be good for you to filter out hot prospects from cold prospects. For example, are you thinking of selling in 2023? Do you need help with your Canva graphics, whatever it might be? Because if people click yes, they might not necessarily be ready to buy or sell a property right now. Or in your case, Chris, they might not be ready to pay you to do their social media content, but it kind of earmarks them on your radar that, okay, this person's thinking at some point they might need help with the social media graphics. So if you want to get more intelligent with your time, you can start then engaging with their content and showing an interest in what they do or learning about their business and kind of growing your presence in their mind's eye, if that makes sense. So it can be really good for not just engagement, but segmenting your audience and making it clear who's ready to do business with you or might do business with you in the future. And then the other thing is I think it's a really good way to break down barriers. So one thing that I've used Instagram stories for in the past, which has probably been my most successful use of Instagram stories of all time, is like a Q&A. And I've done this in
You
different
do a lot of
industries.
these, yeah.
Yeah, they're so good. So for me, for example, part of my business is that I help other agents start and grow their businesses. So I might put a question out there in the morning saying, "Ask me anything about starting or growing an estate agency." You could say, "Ask me anything about dominating social media with Canva." You could be, "Ask me anything about how to lose weight if you're a personal trainer." It could literally be anything, but your audience will then come to you with market research basically. So they're going to share with you the fears or the insecurities or the questions or whatever it is that's going on in their head. They're going to pop it through. There's low friction. You've got the question, and that gives you a license then to use that question and create a little piece of content around it. So it might be, how much does it cost to start an agency? And I could do a little 60-second reel or a 15 or a 30-second story, sorry, about how much it costs to set up a business with EXP. They've got that information. I've given them that value, and our relationship has just got one interaction stronger. And to everyone else who's watching, who might be wondering the same thing, but they don't quite care enough to ask just now, they'll still learn, and it might just bring them closer down the funnel for a conversion. So there's so many intelligent ways that you can use Instagram stories. I just think it's such an underestimated tool because we don't always see like the interaction that can come off of the back of being consistent with it.
It's hidden, and that's a lot about social media marketing. It's not what you post today to have results. It's what you post today that somebody will see in 6 months or somebody will remember in 6 months' time. So my takeaway from this would be be as consistent as possible with your social media content and just be yourself on social. Do those tips that we've spoken about to both grow your following, grow your engagement, but also grow your authenticity and the trust. Get them to know, like, and trust them with your content.
Yeah, and authenticity is massive. Like, social media, I think, is such a good platform, not just for getting new business, but for getting business from the right people.
Mhm.
And especially if you're in the service sector, as most people listening to this are going to be estate agents, it's a relationship-based business. You're not selling someone a jumper,
Yeah.
then you're never going to speak to them ever again. You're working with people over a prolonged period of time. So I think the better qualified those people are on the front end, the more prosperous those relationships are going to be, and the more you're going to enjoy your work. So I think it's a good filter as much as anything else, that you're
Yeah.
going to connect with the right people who buy your message. And you can only connect with the right people if you're being authentic. Because if you're wearing a mask, pretending to be something you're not, saying things that you don't truly believe in, you're going to get people that aren't really going to resonate with you, with the real version of you. And it can be exhausting to try and keep up an act. So just be yourself. It's a lot easier.
That's it. That's the takeaway. Be yourself, guys. Be yourself and be consistent.
Good man, Chris. I appreciate that, mate. Really good chat.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on. Cheers, Ben.
Catch you soon.